Welcome back to part 2 of I Catch Killers with our guest Harry Garside. There's a lot about Harry that doesn't fit the stereotype of the typical professional boxer. You're a prize fighter, you step in the ring and you punch on with someone. But Harry, you don't come across as this macho tough guy, and I think most people would expect something different from a professional boxer.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a walking contradiction. That's what I like to call myself. And I think for me, in my story, I started boxing at the age of 9 to gain a bit of respect from my two brothers. And I sort of got this identity that I was sort of searching for from my community. And everyone has this picture of what a boxer is. They're tough, They're brazen, they're very masculine. And I didn't feel like I was any of that. But then when I started boxing, I started getting all this I started getting an identity pushed on me, and I kind of loved it. Yeah. But knowing deep down that the more that I figure out about myself, the more that I realize, like, I am a tough man and I love boxing. I love the sport of boxing, but I'm also super soft, emotional, love things that are ballet, dancing, performance arts. I love being vulnerable. I love challenging things. As I said, I'm super emotional and I love experiencing things that could be stereotypically or classed as more feminine. You mean? But I love that about myself, that yes, I am a masculine boxer, but I can also be this other side as well.
And do you think that you're allowing yourself to come out that way because you don't have to prove yourself any further, or not any further, but you don't have to prove yourself as a tough guy because you're a boxer. You know you're tough. And that's what we're talking about before, addressing insecurities, that you have that confidence within yourself.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The more that I figure out about myself, and the more that I think I come to terms with myself, and not saying that I don't play a role anymore or I don't do this anymore, but I'm becoming a lot better at showing up how I want to show up. Yeah. And showing up how I feel I want to show up. And that could be different tomorrow. But I show up most days, if not every day, the person that I want to be. Yeah. Not the person that I think other people want me to be. And there's some beauty in that, and there's some power in that. And I think when I was younger, I just spent a lot of my time trying to impress other people. And as I said, I don't say that I don't do that now. Yeah. I'm just a lot better at realizing it quicker. I still find myself when I go back to Lillardale with the boys that I grew up with, saying things that I wouldn't say anymore, doing things that I wouldn't do anymore. And I notice that. But I'm just a lot more conscious, a lot more aware of noticing that early, and then being able to pivot and being able to pull myself back into line.
It's funny when you go back to the people that you grew up with, because there is no bullshit. They know who you are and that, but you change. You've moved away, you change, and it's trying to blend those two worlds back together again.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think we need to sort of try and teach young people, especially because that's the future generation. But one person does something, and I'll publicly say this: I criticize Floyd Mayweather and I criticize Mike Tyson for what they've done in their past. Yeah. Mike Tyson, I have so much respect for that man now because of the man he presents himself to be now. The introspective, the calm, relaxed. He's got a great podcast. He talks really well. He's very philosophical. And to see how much work he's done from being convicted of rape when he was younger, mate, that is someone you've got to look up to, because he has worked his ass off. And I have publicly said I don't respect someone who's raped someone.
No, obviously. Yeah.
But to see the man that he is now, he deserves credit. He's worked hard. And I think as a society, someone does something 5, 10, 15 years ago and we label them as that. Yeah. We don't ever take into consideration the growth that they've done in that time and the person that they are now. And that's something that I just try and do. I did things in my childhood that weren't great and stuff like that, but I look at myself now and I'm just so much better and more aware and more respectful, more loving to myself and to other people, and I'm proud of myself for that.
Yeah, well, everyone deserves a shot at redemption too, and I know what you're saying about Mike Tyson, and he spent a lot of time in prison, and no one can condone what the offence he was in there for, but he did a lot of reading and educated himself, and came out, and you hear him talk now, and there's this wisdom to it where did that come from? Yeah. Because in his early stages, he was looked at this freak show, this just fighting machine.
Yeah, I feel for him. I've done a bit of research on Mike Tyson. I just feel he was maybe uneducated, and he was easily manipulated and influenced by other people. And I think early in his life, like, he got taken advantage of. Yeah. And I don't condone what he did or anything, but just as I said, to see the growth and to see the man that he is now, like, you've just got to respect him.
Well, that's one thing on this podcast. I hope people, and it's been an eye opener for me since I've left the police, 3 years ago or whatever, that the way that people have gone down a path, who are we to judge when the environment, like the environment that Mike Tyson grew up in, who are we to judge on how he lives his life? And I've had so many people sitting in the seat where you're sitting now that were notorious criminals. But then you look at the background and what happened to them as young people, and it's changed my view on things. It's not black and white, is it? You can't to judge people. Put yourself in their position, and then then have a look at how they've turned out.
I truly think, when I think about the world, I know I am a bit more optimistic than most people, but when I think about the world, it's like we are obviously hardwired to think about the negative because it's survival. But when you really think about the world on day to day, there's so much more positive happening in the world. It outweighs it like 10 to 1, I reckon. Yeah. So much more positive things happening in the world. People are actually good people. They're just sometimes caught in the wrong moment and they do one bad thing, but they've done 99 good things. Yeah. And we remember them for that bad thing. And I just truly do think most people, if not all people, are good people deep down. They just get caught in the wrong moment at the wrong time, and they make the wrong decision.
Yeah, and that's an interesting way to look at it. And a forensic psychologist that I work with closely in the police, Dr. Sarah Ewell, she's been a guest on the podcast, but quite often we'd get into discussions about what's good, what's evil, and she'd point out that just because someone's done something bad does not make them a bad person. They've done a bad thing, and just in that simple saying, it sort of changed my view on it, to look at it, because before I'd go, no, that bloke robs banks, this bloke's assaulted people, whatever. But they've done a bad thing. It doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. So it's taken me a long time to come to that realisation, and spent time in the police and speaking to the forensic psychologists. You at such a young age, where do you get this wisdom from?
I'm not too sure, actually. I listen to a lot. I call it mental masturbation. I do a lot of that. I think.
Now, there's a new topic we've never had on I Catch Killers, mental masturbation. Where are we going with this, Eric?
Stand into a sex podcast. I'm the type of person, I train, and I love training, but my brain is so active, and my brain goes on these weird and wonderful tangents, and I call it mental masturbation because I will go onto a topic and I'll think about both sides, and I love that about myself. But I spend a lot of my time doing that, and I'm really grateful that I've got that perspective. And with I know I probably present more left wing when in the political sense, but growing up with a dad who's super right wing, old-fashioned, hard-working Aussie bloke, gets up and you provide for your family, real conservative. And then my mum being a little bit more flexible, she's a medium, she talks to dead people, and she's a lot more flowy, and having that, they're almost polar opposites politically.
You got the yin and yang happening there.
Yeah, I like to think that I'm in the middle, and I can see both sides, and there's no real right or wrong way. And one of my favourite men in the world, Gabor Mate, he's massive on childhood trauma and addiction over in Europe and America. And he said, people are just doing the best they can with what they know.
Yep.
And I love that quote. Yeah. It's so simple, so basic. And I truly believe that. Like, people haven't had the same opportunities or life experiences for them to make a different decision in that moment.
It takes a lot of judgment away from it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It gives me a lot more empathy. Yeah. Empathy for myself even. Like, when I do a wrong thing, and yes, of course, I want to do better next time and stuff like that. But when I say that quote to myself, it just gives me a bit more empathy. Like, I haven't had the experience yet. This is a moment where I can change it next time. Yeah. I can be better next time and make sure that doesn't happen again.
Well, something's working with you, because you seem, as I said, you're always happy. You've always got a smile on your face. Your career change, or not a change because it's still in the world of boxing, but there is a dramatic change going from amateur boxing, which is the Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, into a career as a professional boxer. You become a prize fighter, so to speak. Talk us about that transition. Yeah,
it's been interesting. I've really enjoyed it. They're two different sports almost. Like, I know they're both boxing at the end of the day, but amateur boxing is 3 rounds. It's very fast paced, a lot more technical. But professional boxing is prize fighting. It's a business, and they're both boxing at the end of the day, and they're both they're different, and they have pros and cons to both of them. after the Olympics, I finished the Olympics, received the bronze medal. I come back and I'm broke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't earning any money. I had a couple of sponsors, but that was just enough to pay my bills and stuff like that. And I finished the Olympic Games with the medal, and I'm pretty much owing people money almost.
Yeah.
And so finally turned professional. And as I said on the first step, like I'm not earning much,
Yep.
but it's enough to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And that's really important to me. And being 25 now, knowing that by the time I'm 35, I'm going to have kids, and I want to make sure that I don't have a degree.
Yeah.
I don't have a qualification. I don't have anything. All I have is my boxing, and I've got to make sure that I'm trying my best to earn as much money as I can, winning world titles, becoming the boxer that I want to become, so I can set my kids up in the future.
Yeah, and it was played out very publicly that Johnny Lewis, and people that I think people would be familiar with him. He's Australia's greatest boxing trainer and highest profile boxing trainer, trained numerous world champions. And it was rumoured that he was coming out of retirement to train you. I've got a bone to pick with you. I left the police around that same time, and I started training with Johnny at the same time. And when I heard those rumours, I thought Johnny had seen something in me that others hadn't. And I was shattered. He wasn't coming out of retirement to train me in my new career. He was training you. All jokes aside.
I love that.
Although maybe it could have been a career. I was looking for a career, just left the police. That's a testament to you.
Yeah.
Someone like Johnny that looks for not just the technical skills but the quality in a person. I actually asked Johnny about what he saw in you, and his words in classic Johnny speak, he's a good fella. Yeah, that type of thing. Talk us about that experience.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to have the king of Australian boxing come out of semi-retirement for me. And the one thing I love about Johnny, he's a master motivator, and I honestly walk out of the gym and he feeds me with things, and he trains me, and after training I'm walking out and I'm feeling positive, I'm feeling happy, and I'm feeling like a kid, just like I did with my first coach, Brian Levere, who's around the same age as Johnny.
Yeah. And
the one thing I love about the older generation, they make you feel good, they make you feel special, but they're always having a laugh and having fun, and that's what it's all about.
Yes.
It's like bringing that nostalgia back to the sport, bringing that love back to the sport, because the reality is, now that I've turned professional, it's more of a business.
Yep.
But still having those fundamental basics of like why am I doing it? Because I love going to the gym, I love socializing with the crew, I love boxing, and I love having a laugh. Yeah. And Johnny brings all that to me, as well as his wealth of knowledge in the boxing world.
Yeah, there's something special that goes, and the pedestal that Johnny's put up in the boxing circles, but other sports that he transcend too. But we talked earlier on in part one about just someone believing in you, and I watched the way that Johnny encourages people, and you've seen the sessions that he does early in the morning, and what a collective group of misfits that is. But he gets something special out of every person there, and just those little words of encouragement, and the humour that's brought to it. I don't think I've laughed so much any time I've trained. When I go training there, there's always some joke happening or at someone's expense. It makes a difference, doesn't it?
Massive difference. And I heard this quote, and there's no evidence in this world to prove that this life is serious. We take life so serious, especially in the Western world. We take life so serious, and there's always bull at a gate, especially living in a big city like Sydney. And you know what I mean? Like, if you can just take it back to having a laugh, enjoying the company that you're with at the moment, and I know everyone says it now, being in the present moment and stuff like that. And it actually, there is some value to it, having a laugh, and just remembering that, you know what I mean, not getting so offended, or if someone has a different view to you, and just laughing it off and being okay. And I think that is what the boxing gym and someone like Johnny Lewis has done for me.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's great. I can see the influence, but it is a testament to yourself that someone like that supporting you, and you have other good people around you, other trainers, Jason, that you do work with, and then your wayward manager.
Pete,
I wasn't going to mention his name. Sorry, that's just a little personal private joke with us. Peter Matreski, a very good bloke. But so your career is now you're fighting for a living. That's what it comes down to, and it's about your profile and all that. And then you come across with you're photographed with nail polish, and you're photographed in dresses and all different things. Tell us about that, because I think that's how people identify with you, and I know it's important to you, the message that you're trying to get across with that.
Yeah, it's a big topic for me, and I think the public issue or the social issues that we're most passionate about are usually the ones that are a bit close to home. And for me, I felt I played a role for a lot of my childhood, trying to prove that I was a man and doing things in moments to sort of show that I was a man, always being the one at the parties when I was younger, drinking the most or doing the dumb things, the blokey things, and just really overcompensating and selling that I was a male. And for me, by showing if a boxer with a mullet who lives in Lilydale can do ballet, can wear nail polish, can dance, can wear dresses, you know what I mean? I'm just a walking contradiction.
Yeah.
And I want a young person especially, it doesn't really matter what age, but a young person especially, if they come from an area where it's working class, just like where I come from, but they want to do performance arts, if they see someone like me doing it, I hope that they have the courage to go and do that.
Yeah.
If a young female wants to take up boxing, a predominantly male-dominated sport, go do that.
Yeah.
You mean you don't have to explain anything to anyone, even your family. You
Yeah.
don't have to. If it's a calling to you and it feels right to you and it's something that you want to try, I think just go do it. And I want to try and encourage people to do that, because I never thought a 9-year-old boy who was scared, timid, the soft one of the family, would walk into a boxing gym, be a bit uncomfortable, be a bit out of my depth, that I would fall in love with the sport and then go to the Olympic Games to represent my country.
Yeah.
But I did it because I just tried something new and I tried something different. I tried something that no one was doing. And there's so much beauty in that. And I think, especially for young people, they have the courage. When you get a little bit older, you've got a lot more responsibility. You've got family. You've got other things playing into it. You've got your identity that you've formed for 25 plus years.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you don't have that. So you have the courage a little bit more to go do it.
Well, to have someone like yourself, a role model that can make those statements and say, look, this is who I am, and wither the storm, or people, people are going to pull back. Like if it was someone that didn't have your reputation, they'd be calling you all sorts of names. But because you've got your reputation, you can put yourself out there and hopefully, show people that you can be yourself.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I still cop flack online from some people and stuff like that, and it hurts. It's not great. Yeah. Like I'm just human at the end of the day, and you see a comment on a bad day and you want to reply back, like, where do you live? You know what I mean? You actually get that feeling. You're like, all right, say it to my face then. You know what I mean? And I get that feeling, I get that response. And but just knowing as well that I think I've come to the point where if anyone criticizes me for what I'm doing, I think I feel for them in the sense of like, there's something inside of them, I believe, that they don't feel confident or comfortable enough to express themselves how they see fit. They would feel so much judgment for doing what I do. That's why they feel the need to voice
why
it.
Does it invoke such a reaction from them?
Exactly right.
They'll protest too much.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's just I want to give them more confidence that if it doesn't have to be wearing a skirt or nail polish, but if it's something that maybe they would feel a little bit of judgment, I just want to give them a little bit of like inspiration to just go do that. Just try it. And you honestly, like, no one's really caring about what you do with your life. Like no one really, really cares unless it's your immediate circle. Yeah. You know, just go do something that feels right to you, and you don't have to explain it. Just live it and experience it. And if you don't like it, oh, beautiful. Go back to your life, and that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're actually going out there and living life. One of the things that played an important part in your life was the Reach Foundation. That's something that came along at a good time for you to give you the confidence to pursue your dreams. Talk to us what the Reach Foundation is about.
Yeah, that's a massive organisation for me, and I'm super passionate and super involved with the work that they do, even still now at the age of 25, and the end of my life when I was 16, and to have like an organisation that it's all about just giving young people a space to stumble, fall, experience things, discover more about themselves and about the world, and in the process of the first day of being involved as a participant to then being a crew member and being involved in the foundation, the growth of myself from that one day just truly changed the trajectory of my life. And they just made me delve into myself and have the courage to express myself more, and probably why I feel courage now to wear nail polish and not feel that much judgment, to wear a skirt and be okay with it, to do ballet and not care what other people think. they gave me the tools I needed to be the man that I am now.
And how did they achieve that? How did they, the practicalities of changing the way you're looking at yourself and what you wanted to do?
So as I said, I think they just create space.
Yep.
They create space. So the first workshop I did was at my school. It was just males in the workshop, so just all my high school mates, all the blokes. And we go into a room, and their first activity, right? This is the type of people that the first activity, you step to the line, and you're across from someone, one of your mates, and stare them in the eyes for 5 minutes. It was about 3 minutes.
That's confronting.
Oh,
yeah.
16-year-old boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very confronting. And a lot of people laugh and taking the piss. This is a bit of a moment in my life, but I got partnered up with someone from Reach. So I'm not with one of the boys.
Yeah.
If I was with one of the boys, I probably would have been laughing, joking, would have just taken the piss. But I was with someone from Reach who was taking it full serious.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I felt vulnerable. I felt scared. Some guy's looking at me. Why is he looking at me? Men don't do this. You mean my dad would never do this to me? But also in that moment as well, having the same conflicting thoughts of feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling connected, and feeling like he had my back that day. And it's like having those two thoughts. And that was a moment where I was like, oh, there's something in this day. And I gave everything of myself to that day. And they do other activities, camps, workshops. It's just all about challenging things, challenging stereotypes. And that day I wore nail polish, and I went home and my dad kicked me off the kitchen table as a joke.
Yeah.
He kicked me off the kitchen table. He's like, what are you wearing nail polish for?
Yeah.
I mean, get on.
No, son in my house. Yeah.
It was just a joke. But it was just starting that conversation of like, what does this all mean? This is all a bit of a construction, and it all kind of means nothing, and it means everything, and just understanding and being curious.
Well, it's a really interesting, and you've left me with the thought of staring into someone's eyes for 3 minutes. That would be confronting, especially at that age, trying to comprehend what's going through, and it is a way to sort of change people's what's this day about.
And just realizing that in that day, there was moments that people in my year level, they're talking about stuff that's going on at home, real vulnerable issues. They're crying in front of the group, and it's a group of 16-year-old men, young men. And it's just like in that day, like you're hearing stories of people going through their own struggles, but then also feeling like, hey, I'm going through something similar. And we're all going through our struggles, and we're trying to navigate things, especially as teenage boys. Yeah. We're trying to navigate the world. And I think in that moment, we just become connected as a group, and there's not as much bullying going on. There's people listening, showing real empathy and caring about others, and just realizing that, hey, geez, I thought he was a freak. Remember that's we're young men, but he's going through his own stuff at home, and his dad's never there and doesn't feel loved, doesn't feel connected. And you hear that in moments like that where you're not taking the piss and you're actually given the opportunity to talk about your life.
And so it's contrary to what we're almost taught as growing up as young men. Don't reveal your weaknesses, don't let anyone in, that type of thing. It's interesting. Quite often, the tougher people I meet in life, and how do you define toughness? And certainly, the conversation we're having now, it's blurred what tough is. But people I would describe as hard men are quite often the ones that I can speak more openly and emotionally than others. Now, I've wondered about that, and this is through my policing career, but outside my policing career as well. People that would look at them and go, they're hard asses, they're tough guys, you don't mess with them. But when you sit down and speak with them, they're very open about their emotions. And I think that comes with a confidence of they're comfortable in their identity, who they are, and they can reveal a little bit about their emotions. What do you say to that? Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I think you see those people who you kind of idolize or you look up to, and there's almost this air of confidence. They almost know who they are. Yeah. They're not fully there yet, but they're almost a step above the curb. Yeah. And yeah, I definitely notice that with people that I look up to, and I'm just like, they know who they are. They're confident in who they are, and they're not putting themselves above other people, but they're standing true in who they are. And that's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah. And there's an openness to them because they're not protecting, they're not vulnerable. They feel confident in who they are. And a lot of what you've talked to so far today has been about that confidence to get out there. Another thing that you're, and I don't think it's that strange because I understand the world of boxing, but from the general public, the fact that you do ballet, like, talk us through that, because that's, I in the introduction, the ballet dancing boxer, that's how you're identified. What was the journey there?
Yeah, I've always been really curious and interested in dance growing up, and just coming from the place I grew up and having a lot of men in my life. I didn't really want to tell anyone that I wanted to try dance but in 2019, at the age of about 21, I took up the courage and started it. And I think ballet has a lot of crossovers to boxing. The transferring of the weight, the strength strength and power they generate through their legs and their lower body. They make it look so effortless and elegant, but there's so much restriction and tightness in their body, but they make it look great.
Yeah.
There's discipline, structure. So there's so many similarities between the two sports, but I think any form of dance for any human or any athlete especially is so valuable. Coordination, movement, joy. It's almost a little bit nostalgic because when I think about humans, how we've communicated for thousands of years, different cultures, they've always had dance. There's been dance involved with tribes, been dance involved in South America.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of movement and flowy. And I think I walk out of a dance class. Me and my partner did a contemporary dance class recently, and we walked out. We're like going in there real nervous, anxious. We're going to get judged. We're going to be shit. We walk out. I honestly felt like I could run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
And that moment is beautiful.
Yeah. So you're getting a lot from it.
Massive, heaps of improvement. And from, as I said, the similarities between the two sports of discipline and structure, and then the power they generate through their legs in ballet. But I think it's just more like as well, putting yourself out of your comfort zone. That's a massive thing for me. And putting yourself in areas where you're actually bad at something.
But you grow from that.
And the thing is as well, what I noticed when I was at school, you're learning for 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
So you're learning caps on. And then you go to a boxing gym, and I know you're younger and you're experiencing the world, but you pick up things real quick when you're young.
You're like a sponge.
Exactly right. But then when you leave school, I felt like my learning capabilities kind of dropped off a little bit. So I had to throw myself in things where I was bad. I had to throw myself at things. I started rock climbing, started surfing, started doing these uncomfortable challenges, started doing things that I was bad at. And I started noticing my learning capabilities came back like I was in school again. And I started picking up things differently. And I think it's so valuable to enter something that you're really bad at and just watch your growth, watch your improvement. And you progress a lot quicker than what I'm progressing at boxing. Yeah. I do 0.5% a day of boxing. You can progress to 10% in a session.
Because you haven't done it before and you're coming in with no
exactly right. And there's beauty in that. And you feel good. We all feel good when we're improving. And I find so much joy in that.
You're tapping into something that people ask me as a homicide detective, how I would deal with stress and that. And I did martial arts and meditation and qigong, different things like that. But quite often when I was having a hell of a day and at work, making decisions or getting in trouble or whatever, just one of those intense days. And I'd go to a kung fu school, and I wasn't the best, and I'd just turn up, speak to the sifu, and then be told what to do. I didn't have to think; I had to follow, and I just found that was my escape. And it was starting, at the bottom of the class and getting beat up left, right, and centre. But to me, it was a relaxation. It was release from that stress. But you've also touched on the fact that when you try something new, that it opens your mind. That's an interesting concept. Yeah, I feel we lose it a bit when we I'm only 25. I can't talk like I'm 50. You're talking like you're 70. God knows what you're going to be like by the time you're 70. But I just feel when you're a kid, you just and we're so blessed to live in a country like Australia. Yep. Where you have the freedom to try all these sports at school, and providing you've got a bit of financial backing, you can try sports outside of school. Yep. But you usually get a lot of opportunity in this country, 9 times out of 10. And I think we've got to grab that with both hands. And I think as well, when people grow older, they start they're working 9 to 5, they're working 45 hours a week, whatever, however long they're working. Get into a routine, and they don't try new things. And there's so much play and joy in starting something where you really, and you might not enjoy it. Yeah. That's okay. Start something else next week. But there's just beauty and joy in, I think, starting new things. And I always just try my best to do it. I like your little challenges you set for yourself. And in researching before we did the podcast today, and just people that know you, that you went to the Olympics and you've set a challenge not to talk for 72 hours. That was hard. Now, I like it. Like I like challenges. Sometimes it makes me feel alive. I'll get up. It's a rainy day. You go for a run or a long walk or whatever, and people think you're mad. Why are you doing it? I don't know. I just had it in my mind. What if it happened if I did this in the morning? What was the 72 hours not talking about?
I wish it was 72 hours, but it was 50. It was 50, but it was still very, very challenging.
Yep.
I was in Japan at the time, and I've been doing a challenge once a month for 3.5 years, and I've done so many amazing challenges, and that was one of them. And I learned something from that because I talk a lot.
Yeah,
I'm confident. I talk. I love having a laugh, being in a group setting. But what I realized on that day, 50 hours no talking, I need to shut my mouth sometimes, because I realized in that day when I wasn't talking, those 2 days where I weren't talking, other people in the group who were more the wallflowers, they had to fill the space. They had the opportunity to sort of go, oh, I can talk a little bit more. And there was beautifulness for me to see that go, I'm limiting them from talking. I'm limiting them from expressing themselves. And there was beauty in that for me, because I was like, oh, there's sometimes I need to shut my mouth. There's sometimes I need to give other people the opportunity to talk. And there's sometimes I need to listen instead of talking. And I learned a lot from that. But it was a bloody hard challenge. I did screw up a couple of times. Like our natural instinct is to talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very rewarding.
It's interesting that with that, your observation, that's sort of stepping away from your norm or your comfort zone, and then learning the importance of listening. It is a skill that we can lose. Like I can talk and talk over the top of people, and then you think, well, what have I learnt? You've learnt nothing. And you see a lot of wise people, whether a man or woman, that tend to just sit there and listen. And then when they speak, everyone hears what they've got to say, because normally they've taken it all in, and they just hold respect when they do open their mouth.
Yeah, that's it's something that I'm starting to become aware of it now, because since the Olympics, I'm on podcasts pretty much once a week.
Yeah.
I'm doing something. I'm talking a lot. Like people want to hear, and it's almost like I catch myself sometimes saying in a family setting or with my partner, someone's talking like with a little bit of arrogance, I'm
what you've got to say is more important than anyone
but
else.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not, and I'm aware of it, but I've just noticed myself in moments where I'm like, sometimes I'm taking up the space a bit too much because people want to hear all the time.
Yeah,
you know? But it's like what my partner has to say, or what my family members have to say, or what my friends have to say is just as important as what I have to say. I've just got to listen, and I've caught myself in moments going, "Shut your mouth, Harry. Shut your mouth," and I'll say it to myself in my head.
Well, it's good you check yourself that way. And I often wonder, like social media, you know how you can read 99% of good things about you if you're out there in the public, and 1% bad. Maybe that 1% bad is good because it checks you a little bit. Because imagine and let's think before social media, if you had a reputation, you would be Harry Garside, the Olympian, the professional boxer. You could walk around being a complete arsehole, and no one would know other than the people just around you. Now you know that you've got to pull yourself back a little bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. It's very unnatural, social media, having thousands, millions of people commenting on your life. It's very, very unnatural. Like, you think about us, we're animals.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be in communities of maybe 150, 200 people. And now we're having thousands of people commenting on our life.
Yeah.
It's very unnatural, but it's just, you got to put things in place to make sure that you don't listen to everything, and you don't listen to the good or bad too much.
Yeah. How do you handle, like, you recognise in the street, like we went out there for a photo shoot, and a person walks past and just love your career and nice comments, and I like the way you responded to it. You thanked him and that, but that must happen to you a lot as your profile gets bigger. How do you find that?
I'm in two minds about it, and it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
The reason as to why social media is so successful, we love gratification, we love validation, and you get that in that moment. But then there also is a voice inside of me going, "You're not as good as you think you are," or there's someone who trashes me down straight away, or there's someone who brings me back down to earth. And I am grateful that I have that, because I don't think I'll ever be too big for my boots, or I don't think I'll ever have a massive head, or I'll ever think that I'm above anyone. And I'm grateful for that. But of course, it's a great feeling. I just hope that I'm being a good role model for people, and I hope that I'm not causing too much of a divide for people. That is a thought for me, in the sense of, like, I'm very political with some of the things that I voice, and it does cause a bit of controversy, and I hope that I'm just not causing more of a divide, because that's not what I want to do.
Yeah,
I want to bring people together, both sides, left and right.
Yeah.
And I want people to live in harmony, and I want people to live in peace. And I think sometimes with my issues around me wearing a dress, it causes more of a divide. And there's people commenting on my photos. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But they'll be fighting each other on my account. I'm like,
That's
I'm
not
causing a divide, and I don't like that. I don't like that.
Oh, at least you've got the insight to realise these are the consequences of what you do, and that holds you in good stead. There's other things that you do that you 5 a.m. showers, cold showers. Now, I've heard so many people talk about that. I have cold showers. I try to do it every morning. And I'll be honest, sometimes on those really, really cold mornings, I put the hot water on. But if I do have a cold shower, I feel better. I've challenged myself, and I get out and I feel alive. What do you get from the cold showers in the morning?
Yeah, it's massive, and there is science-based stuff that you get, but I'm not too fussed on that. But for me, it's more about like the last thing you want to do when you wake up at 5 o'clock in the middle of winter in Melbourne. When I'm in Melbourne in Lilydale, it's in a valley, it's freezing.
Yeah,
the last thing I want to do is have a cold shower.
Yeah.
But the feeling you get where you get through the negative voice going, just have a warm shower. No one will know if you like. No one will know.
Yeah.
Who cares? Just do it. That feeling you get after doing that is amazing. And I just notice when my mental clarity or my self-worth starts dropping a little bit, or I'm having a bad week, I just try my best to pick one thing I'm going to do tomorrow. And if that one thing is I'm going to meditate tomorrow, or that one thing is I'm going to have a cold shower tomorrow, or that one thing is I'm going to read a chapter of a book tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just making sure I do that one thing and not turning my back on my word, because your word is so important, and it's important for me. And when I do those things, I've been doing meditating for the last year almost. I've been doing cold shower this whole year. So I've done these things, but there will still be times where I have bad weeks. So then I will just add one more thing to that list of things I'm already doing for self-growth and self-improvement.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be working for you, because you do seem happy. A tip with the cold showers, I always reckon it's better to put the head in first.
Always.
I try putting the extremities in, and I put the head straight in and just take it.
It's like diving in the ocean.
Yeah.
You just got to, if you dive in, it's a lot easier than tiptoeing in, creeping in. It's like ripping a band-aid off. Just rip it off, dive in, and you're a lot better. But it's definitely getting a lot harder. I'm doing this breathwork course. One of my goals this year was to become a qualified breathwork teacher.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that at the end of the month, and it's all around like ice baths and the Wim Hof. So that type of stuff. So it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait for it.
Oh, very good. Where do you see your boxing career? What are your goals in your professional boxing career?
Just to become the best boxer I can be.
Yep.
And I truly believe I can become one of Australia's greatest boxers of all time.
Yep.
So that's the goal. And wherever that leads me, if that means unified champion, if that means double weight division unified champion, whatever it is, I just want to become the best boxer I can be. And I truly believe I can do that. And I want to make sure that I set my kids up, and I want to make sure that I can impact as many people as I can outside of my boxing world as well. So it's important to me. I want to have a business one day. Not sure what it looks like, but it'll be something around self-growth, self-improvement / boxing gym, I think. And that's what I'm all about.
Well, a lot of what you're doing is not just focusing on your own career; it's the legacy that you can leave, and I think that's important. And talking to you and sitting down here today, at the start of the podcast, I said a lot of what we talk about here is how you fight crime and how you prevent crime, and good role models. And I think someone at your age, you've still got that connection with kids growing up. They look up to Harry Garside, the boxer. Everyone knows who he is, the Olympian, and showing them that you can do things in life, and not judging people. Like if everyone that made a mistake was cancelled, we'd all be cancelled, because we all make mistakes. But I think there's an important message that you've got across about you can have stories of redemption. You can change the way you live in your life and make the most of it. Yeah,
that's it's a big thing for me, and I just know how much boxing has impacted my life. And where I come from, it was a low socioeconomic area, and it saved so many young people's lives. Like, honestly, and they could have went on a million different ways, but that boxing gym was their home. They come from broken homes, and I just like I've said this to my partner, I want to obviously have a business and be successful. I'm driven in that world, but I also want to have something that's my thing.
Yeah.
I want to have like a gym in Mount Druitt or a gym in Dandenong in Victoria, where it's real low socioeconomic area, and just have a gym free for kids.
Yeah.
Maybe make them pay, I don't know, $5 because of the concept around paying.
Yeah.
But just making sure that I don't care about creating good fighters. It's all about creating good people.
Good people.
Yeah, and I just think the lessons you can learn from a combat sport is so valuable. And one day I'll have a gym in those areas.
I've no doubt you're going to achieve a lot in your life, Harry. It's I've watched your career, and I've watched how you developed, and it fascinates me. And someone that as young as you are, and we've got you for the first time hearing a 25-year-old Harry Garside talking. You've only been a kid before this podcast. But good luck with your career, and I really like the way you go about your business and what you're doing, and all the best for the future.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.